Good morning to all. I am Raju Upadhyay from CIMAGE College, Patna, Department of IT. Today, in this particular lecture, we will be talking about JDBC architecture as a part of JDBC series. So we need to understand first what basically the JDBC architecture is. Then we'll talk about the various kind of layers, driver layers. So as you know, our Java application cannot communicate directly with the database to submit and retrieve the result of any queries. That means if you wanted to query anything with the database, so directly you cannot communicate with the database, or directly you cannot retrieve the data from the database, right? This is because a database can interpret only SQL statement and not Java language statement. So as a Java developer, we are going to embed SQL statement in the Java statement only. That means whenever you are going to send the Java code or Java statement to the database for translating and executing, it's not possible for the database to translate it because database is having their own architecture, they understand their own language. Therefore, we need to develop a mechanism to translate the data. Rather, we can translate the Java statement into the equivalent SQL statement. So SQL statement can be easily understood by any kind of database and they can execute the request of the user. That is why this JDBC architecture came into the picture. So JDBC architecture provides such kind of mechanism for taking the request from the Java application and translating equivalently to its different language, which can be understood by the database, right? So in order to, if you can see the picture, inside the picture, we are having two different kind of layers. In the left hand side, we are having a JDBC application layer, and in the right hand side, we are having a JDBC driver layer. So let us understood one by one both the layers. In JDBC application layer, it signifies your Java application. As you are seeing out here in the left hand side, we are having a small Java application that uses JDBC API to interact with the database driver, right? And JDBC driver is a software that a Java application uses to access the database. That means your Java application is not going to access database directly. Java is sending the request to the JDBC API. Further, this request of Java application is forwarded through the JDBC API to the suitable database driver, and driver is going to do the proper conversion work. And it is going to convert the Java request into a language which can be understood by database, and it is given to the database, and database is going to perform all needful work. That means database is going to execute the Java application request and it generates output. And that output is going given back, right? That output is given back to your database driver. And database driver is further translating that particular output into a form that Java application can understand. And that converted form is getting stored inside in a form of, you can say, object. And normally, if you are going to do the query from the database, it generates the output, and that output is being converted into the object, and that object is ideally called as result set object, and given back and forwarded to Java application for further activities. So we can summarize it. Java driver layer, which is there in the rightmost side, it acts as an interface between our Java application and the database, right? You can have a different kind of database. You can have a database of Oracle. You can have a database of SQL Server. You can have a database of Sybase. You can have a database of MySQL. So nowadays there are various kind of vendors which are available in the market who creates the database, right? So, and this JDBC driver layer contains a driver, right? So as I said, for different database, it has a different driver, such as SQL Server driver for SQL database, Oracle driver for Oracle, which enables connectivity to a database from the Java application. So driver sends the request of the Java application to the database in the converted form. Once the request is processed, database sends the response back to the driver, and the response is then further translated and sent to the JDBC API by the driver, and then JDBC API finally forward this response to the Java application. In this way, request is coming from the user side. Obviously, user is using the Java application. It goes via JDBC API to database driver, right? And database driver is converting the user request into the form which can be understood by the database. And database is executing the request given by the Java application through the user, and it gives back the response back to the database driver, and in turn it goes to the JDBC API, and then in turn it goes to the Java application, right? So this is your JDBC architecture. This has to be very clear before understanding the concept of different database driver and kind of drivers. So that's all for this particular video. Hope you understood this particular video. I'll be coming with the next video where I'll be talking about the various different kind of type of drivers which we can use in order to establish the communication between the Java application and database server. Thanks for watching this particular video.